How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to yet another episode of Fireside Knicks with your hosts Dylan and Davin. And tomorrow night, the New York Knicks begin the regular season against the Boston Celtics at the TD Garden. They finished off the preseason with a pretty strong 4-1 record, but of course you don't want to overlook preseason numbers. They really are meaningless. So now it's on to the real thing, the regular season, which we're very excited for. We're just going to jump right into, previewing this game and what's really ahead for the Knicks. So Davin, tell me first off how you're doing, and secondly, looking at the preseason stuff, what are you most excited for in this season opener against Boston tomorrow night?
Doing great, man. Thank you for asking. And to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to seeing Karl Anthony Towns, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing these new additions of the New York Knicks just formulate this whole entire thing together. See how the cohesion's looking. See how these guys are looking. We've been seeing a lot of talk about Mikal Bridges, his jump shot. There's a hitch that's in it that wasn't there before, and a lot of things like that. I believe they're going to be shutting up the haters tomorrow. Cat had a new nickname. They've been calling him Big Bodega, all these type of Big Cat. But Hellcat's probably the one I'm rolling with, so I'll be kind of just spamming that every time he does something prolific this season. But that's really what I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I understand we're pretty low on depth right now, so we'll talk about that more as the episode goes on. But against the Boston Celtics, we have a lot to prove. They have more to prove, to be honest, coming off of a championship season. So it's going to be a match made in heaven, honestly. This can go to overtime, but it's going to be a great game. I can guarantee you that.
Right, and I think Cat and Bridges are the two guys I'm going to be watching the most, really, tomorrow night. Especially considering they kind of struggled a little bit in the preseason. Like, Cat had some pretty good numbers, but, on the shooting front, both of those guys really struggled. Especially Bridges. Bridges was 2 of 19 from 3 in the preseason, 0 of 10 against Washington on Friday in their final preseason game. I made a video on social media about it, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen, and it's interesting because this is a guy who changed his jumper a little bit, which I understand, you want to make adjustments each year to kind of get better, but he's been a career 37% shooter from 3. So I don't really understand what the drastic change was all about. I don't know who told him that including that hitch into his release was a good idea. I'm not going to make a final conclusion yet. I want to see how it looks in the regular season and how it looks against a really good team in the Boston Celtics that just won the championship. So, we have a chance to spoil their rig night, which would be really cool if we could do that. But, I think really I'm looking at those two the most offensively, but defensively I'm going to be looking at Bridges and Anunoby because we know those guys are going to be tasked with guarding Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's pretty obvious that that's who they're going to be assigned. So I'm really interested to see how they stop them, how they play against them. How are they going to work around switches, around screens? Because they're going to try to get those. They're going to try to get those mismatches and get one of those guys off of them. They're going to try to get the smaller Jalen Brunson onto Jason Tatum or Brown. They're going to try to, get the weaker defenders onto them. It's going to happen. That's going to be the entire game plan. So it's really going to be a matter of how will they navigate around that? What is their plan? How is Thibodeau going to place his defenders on the floor? Will he run zone? Will he run man? All that stuff is going to be stuff we're really going to be looking at. I'm really excited to see what those two wing defenders can bring though in Bridges and Anunoby. We saw a glimpse of it during the preseason. And I'm really excited for what they can do in the regular season when it actually means something. And this is a real test. I mean, not only just looking ahead to this Boston game, but the start of their season is a real test already. Their first 4 games, I believe, are against teams that were in the playoffs last season. So they're going to have a real test right away. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm really excited to watch it, though. I think, again, this is going to be one of those games that really it's really a good way to start the season. We're the first NBA game out of every team in the league, so all eyes are going to be on us tomorrow night, which I think it's a good way to start. It's the two teams that are easily the favorites in the Eastern Conference at the moment, so it's a good way to start it. I'm really excited for it. And yeah, I mean, looking also at the depth stuff, I want to segue into that you just mentioned. Precious Achiuwa just got injured, and he's going to be out for at least 2 to 4 weeks with the hamstring injury that he suffered in the final preseason game on Friday against Washington. So that's going to be a problem. I'm honestly a little concerned about it, but I want to get your thoughts on it first before I, give mine on it, because really the depth was already an issue to begin with. So now it's even more of a problem with this Achiuwa injury. So I want to get your thoughts on that before I say mine.
Yeah, so solidifying that, honestly, that's why I mentioned it earlier. The Knicks have a solid 7. That's what I know for sure. I can look at this list and I can say Cameron Payne will be playing. Miles McBride will be playing meaningful minutes. After that, man, it kind of gets a little shaky there. We have Jericho Sims, maybe, the Lord behold, again, Paco Dadiat and Tyler Kolek as well. So that's a potential that we could see, the New York Knicks kind of dip into the back here because at that point you only have a 7 men strong, but you're going to need a 9 men rotation at least, in my opinion. As a regular season goes, so it's going to one of these guys are going to get a look. I think that we kind of have to see a rookie get a look now, which is going to be something kind of stepping away from what Tibbs usually does. But against the Boston Celtics, second in points per game last season, you got to be real. You got to throw everything you can at these guys. The Knicks are also second in opponents' points per game. So as far as defense goes, this is a well-balanced matchup right here. And the Celtics themselves, their depth is not off the charts as far as meaningful minutes from players, but they do have the depth. They do have the bodies. And sometimes that's all you need. When you need a guy to go out there and, let's say, guard a Jalen Brunson, instead of having your number one guy guard a Jalen Brunson or having one of your guys who need to score 25 points, he can't be doing that and guarding JB. So it's like things like that are definitely going to be a leverage that we do not have. We do not have that. We're going to have guys playing heavy minutes out of the gate. And that's something we really need to watch and balance on because, the Celtics, this team is a team, but we're going to make a statement game tomorrow night. But at the same time, you need to make sure you're ready for the endurance of the whole entire season. So we want to play in the first game and the last game. You see what I'm saying? We want to be in both standings throughout the NBA this year. And looking right now, man, well, we got a juggernaut coming up against us, and we do not have the depth for that. So we'll be dipping into a bag of tricks. I hope that Tom Thibodeau wants to do that. I hope he's not going to hold back at all because I do understand the whole stance about playing young guys, experience, things like that. We've had a discussion about this at the same exact time. These guys look ready in the preseason. These guys played NBA minutes, looking ready as they could have looked in the preseason. And Tyler Kolek especially, I would definitely give him a look. With Jericho Sims on the floor, somebody to always have a leash on, not necessarily what I'm saying, but you know what I mean. Someone to be able to give him easy looks, not having to work too hard. He can play defense well enough, in 10-minute spurts here or there, but get a couple of lobs here and there from Tyler Kolek. That's a perfect setup, how I see those two working off the bench. But yeah, Cameron Payne, Miles McBride, certified big minute time for these guys opening night. They will see big minutes. And that's just kind of the way we got to roll with. We got to roll with it for like another 3 weeks until we get another Achua season.
Right, and I wanted to say something. I kind of slightly disagree with giving Kolek the opportunity to get to play in this one. I think Boston is not a good matchup for Kolek, and this is, it's interesting and ironic because I've been someone who's been clamoring for Kolek to play, all this time. But considering that it's clear that he's probably not going to be in the rotation right away, I don't know if the Celtics are exactly a good team to kind of give him the look. Now, I understand the offense advantage. You get more lob opportunities, more ball movement opportunities. Great. Defensively, though, it's going to be a problem. And I don't know how I like about running 3 guards in the second unit when we're missing Achua, right? That's the problem. So I think really the rookie that deserves to get the look the most is Ariel Hukporti. I think he should be the one getting the opportunity to play because he showcased a lot of athleticism during the preseason on both sides of the ball, and I think really he overmatched some of the guys that he was going up against. Yes, I understand it's the preseason. A lot of those guys might not even play in the NBA this year, might not even be in rotations for the teams that they were on. That's fine, but you got to remember Hukporti was taken with the 58th overall pick, the last pick in the draft. Not much was really to be expected out of him, and he really impressed me. I think he impressed the coaching staff a lot too. And I think he deserves an opportunity to play following this Achua injury. I think he's a guy who deserves to get some minutes. Personally, I think he has a higher potential than Sims, honestly. And that may sound a lot because I know a lot of fans are very high on Sims. But really, we're like in, year 4 of Sims now, I believe. And
yeah.
Has he really shown any crazy development in those 4 years? No. And one could argue the inconsistent playing time, but he has gotten opportunities. He has 32 starts in his career, so he has gotten the opportunity to really showcase himself, show himself a little bit that he can be a steady NBA presence. And I'm not saying he's a complete detriment, no, because he is a solid rebounder. He's mobile on defense. He's switchable, all that stuff, which is good. Those are good things about him. But the offense is not really enough of an improvement to really be to me, wow, this guy needs to be playing. Now, I know Hukporti isn't exactly a floor spacing big, he's an inside traditional big, but he provides size and athleticism that the second unit badly needs. They badly need it, right? And Achua was going to provide some of that stuff, but Achua is also 6'8", so even with that, we were going to be a little undersized if Achua was going to be the main backup big and Sims and Hukporti were just going to sit on the bench. I think Huck Porty deserves an opportunity to play. I think he should get some minutes against Boston. I think it could be a solid matchup for him. I don't think Kristaps Porzingis is playing. I could be wrong about that. I've been seeing stuff that he might not be ready and stuff, so I don't know if
Yeah,
he'll be. I don't think he'll be in this game. So I think it could be
no.
a good opportunity for Huck Porty to kind of get an NBA look without being overmatched at the same time. And I think he deserves a chance. I think he played really well in the preseason to where he's earned it. So really, rather than picking Kolek as the rookie to give a look, I think Huck Porty deserves the look. But I want to get your thoughts on that, though. What do you think?
Yeah, Huck Porty had a game. I believe I was watching very closely his last performance. 22 minutes. I think he had 5 rebounds. Things like that of that nature in a preseason game. I would expect more dominance from a guy that I'm going to anticipate giving minutes to. He's not that dominating of a presence down low, in my opinion. It's definitely, like I said, when Tyler Kolek's out there playmaking for him, he's going to look amazing. You're going to look fantastic running down the lane and getting open looks. But when it's time to get physical and when the NBA season really matters, it's where the big boys play. It's not going to be the same speed for Porty, in my opinion. I would like Kolek. Only reason I wouldn't, I understand what you're saying. The guard depth that the Knicks have is insurmountable. These guys have too many guards. You could argue.
Yeah.
At the same time, it is the physicality that I'm looking for. And Kolek, that might be the only thing he is really lacking. That imposing figure that we're going to need on the defensive end. So that's the way to look at it. That way I can definitely understand that. Pacome, pardon me. But I believe he's going to be the one that, being 18 years old, this guy, he's the one that, like, the biggest risk, you could say, but the biggest reward at the same time. So if he did give anyone minutes, that is going to be a young guy. He would be the wild card there that goes out there and puts up 12 points, and then the whole entire nation's like, who is this rookie? The New Yorks have that's also from France. The French sensations taking over continue. So it's like, oh, man, that could be very interesting to get your eyes on. But, yeah, Huck Porty, man, it's just I'm not too sold on him. Over Sims specifically, they can play together, right? But at the same time, why would you do that? So would that just be
No.
that would be a log jam in its own right. So if any rookie gets a look, yeah, Kolek, then I have Pacome, then I'll have Huck Porty because Huck Porty he's just not there yet, man. But he definitely will. He definitely will. His potential, like you said, is higher than Jericho Sims, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like, I've been someone who's been so high on Kolek, so it sounds weird that I'm like, yeah, I don't think Kolek should get the look,
Yeah.
but considering just like the matchup, I'm looking at the matchup here, and I just don't think Boston is a good matchup for Kolek right away. I think, this is a guy who's very close to being NBA ready. I've been fully set on that, and I've been saying that he should be playing all this stuff. But considering that you're playing, you're probably going to be playing Cameron Payne and Miles McBride a lot, as you mentioned. I can almost be certain that that's going to be the case. So with that being said, I really don't know how you're going to be able to insert Kolek when you're missing a presence like Achua. I think Achua is really an important piece of that second unit that gets a little overlooked. I mean, yes, he's a 6'8" guy, he's an undersized big, but this is a guy who's been around for a bit and he plays physical. And that's what we've been emphasizing in this episode is physicality and some size. And Achua, even though he's only 6'8", he plays like a big man. He plays like a center. He gives you that presence down low still, even despite the the non-imposing size. I guess that he's not 7 feet tall. Now, yes, Huck Porty, I understand. There's the worries about it's the matchups and stuff, and these are the starters that you're playing against. This is a team that just won the championship and brought everybody back, so it's it's a tough matchup for him too. It's a tough matchup for any rookie that we're gonna have to give a look because at this point we kind of don't have a choice but to give one of these rookies a look unless Thibodeau continues to be a little stubborn and just give Sims the minutes and run 8 guys, which I don't think should be a thing. I really think he should give one of these rookies a look to kind of
Yes.
take some minutes off of at least like out of Karl-Anthony Towns, at least give some of those minutes away from him because seeing the injury scares that we had in the preseason with, of course, the Achua injury. Mitchell Robinson is out until 2025. Josh Hart had that little brief scare in the last game on Friday, but he seems to be all right. But still, considering all that stuff, and of course last season with the mounting injuries and stuff, I don't want these guys getting run into the ground on opening night. And this isn't somewhat... And I don't believe in the Thibodeau narrative of him always running guys into the ground. I think he plays his guys the proper set of minutes he should be playing. But when your rotation is thin, you have to, of course, worry about how many minutes are certain guys going to be playing because of that. And I don't want the first game of the season to result in guys playing 40 minutes. I don't want that to happen. So I think really one of these rookies got to get a look. I think it's Huck Porty. You think it's Kolek or Dadier, and that's fine. And I don't disagree with it entirely, but personally I think the Knicks need the size more than anything else out of the bench unit. I think that's what's most important. They need that, and I think Huck Porty can provide some solid minutes. Yes, I understand he may not have had like super dominant numbers on the stat sheet, but the way he plays, he has the capability to put up very dominant numbers, in my opinion. Yes, I'm a little high on him right now, but I think he really has a lot of potential. I think he impressed me a lot in the preseason. I didn't really know what I was expecting from him, but he showed me a lot. So I think he should be a good matchup for this. But I want to get, one last thing out of you before we wrap this up. Give me a final score prediction for this game against Boston.
Final score, man. This is the NBA in 2024. I definitely want to put it in the range like a 125, 121, or 125, 129 Knicks. That's how I want it to be. That means that we get in our star performances, putting on a show. That means Jalen Brunson's going to have at least 35 points at least. But the Boston Celtics, like I said, they scored the most points per game last year, anyways. As the Knicks held their opponents to the fewest points per game, so it's going to be a great balance. But I think that 125, 129. That's a good space to put them in. The Boston Celtics also had the highest true shooting percentage last season. So things of that nature, taking the best shots as well, they know how to do that. That's kind of why Jason Tatum probably has that. He has that reputation of taking poor shots because his team's shot quality is through the roof. He can take some bad ones. So we can anticipate these guys taking great shots. First and 3-pointers made, fewest turnovers, most blocks. Like the Celtics, we got to give them the credit where the credit's due. These are NBA champions coming back into a new season with a lot to prove, coming off the Olympics, coming off of sports narratives that all we saw about between Tatum and Brown and Jason Tatum's whole entire Olympic saga that we saw with that whole situation going on. So the Knicks have to be ready for this. We talked about the big situation, and the Celtics only have Al Horford, we know for sure. Xavier Tillman as well, but Tillman's going to be in kind of a lesser role, just like we'd see a Jericho Sims or a Huck Porty per se. So it's like we're not the big depth that they have is not as deep as it should be. Kristaps Porzingis is not back yet, so that's kind of giving us a little leverage there, just a little bit, in my opinion. And besides that, man, I'm looking forward to the game, man. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game because these are two very high-powered offenses. We know the Knicks have a lot of, a great balance of scoring and defense, but ultimately they have a lot of scoring potential. I think Josh Hart's going to be someone to really watch for because he scored, I think, 2 points all preseason, and he even said he kind of doesn't understand his role, which we don't need to get too deep into now because I fully assume he's going to be starting, so I don't think it's worth discussing too deeply what his role looks like at the moment, but regardless, I expect, a high-scoring game. I think the Knicks can win this game. I think they can win by a score of 123 to 119. Very close game, but I think maybe not as high as you had it, but just a little bit less. I think that we're going to see a very good game from Jalen Brunson. I fully am expecting a good 25 to 30 point game from Brunson. Brunson has a tendency sometimes to start seasons off a little slow, so maybe the efficiency won't be lights out, but I do think he's going to have a strong game now that we have Karl-Anthony Towns to kind of open up the floor for him a little bit more. I am hoping that Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges can fix their three-point shooting woes. I'm hoping that it was just preseason rust and that it was just them kind of trying to figure some things out. And that when this game against Boston tips off tomorrow night, that they can really start getting going, because I think that makes a big difference. The Knicks were not a good three-point shooting team in the preseason, but they were, of course, one of the better three-point shooting teams in the regular season last year. So we don't overlook preseason numbers, but we don't want to make a conclusion off of it, but we can't ignore it at the same time. So let's just hope that all that stuff stays in the preseason, and that when this game tips off tomorrow, they start shooting the lights out. They play really well. I'm looking forward to how Anunoby and Bridges guard Tatum and Brown and how they match up against them. And yeah, I think this is going to be a very exciting game. So I don't have much else to say. I think this is a good point to wrap the episode up. We really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know what you think about tomorrow night's game against Boston, because it's sure to be a fun one. We're really excited about it. We would love to hear what you guys think about it. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Of course, this YouTube page that you are watching the video on. You can follow our personal Twitter accounts. They are above our heads. And we will see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out.